Okay, I'm going to do a quick demo here of the graph extensions that I've built for LabVIEW. These are specifically the markers. This is the most, I guess, visual and most complex of the extensions that are available. And it also includes the cursors, so I'll show that as part of this demo as well. So as you can see, basically when markers are running, they're just a set of additional events and a process in order to manage all the overlays within LabVIEW XY graph. So what I've done is I've replaced the icon for the cursor tool palette on graphs with a marker option, and so when it's in that active tool mode, it will enable the marker capabilities. So you can see by default it's just a circle marker or a point marker, so I can highlight a specific area, call that mark 1, come over, find another point, call that mark 2. So that's by default the usual, just allows you to do point markers, but you can right click on the graph and that'll bring up a set of options where you can choose different types of markers to use. So if you want to use an arrow, you'll end up with a text plus arrow pointing to a specific area. So I can call that whatever I like, puts the text from the beginning of where you clicked and remembers where you pointed it to. The other types are vertical lines and horizontal lines, so you can add those in very easily, create crosshairs, create intersection points, name them whatever you like. The other types are ranges, so you can create or select an area of interest, maybe if this area here, area of interest, you can highlight that. You can also do those on a vertical range. So if you just want to get this lower section here, call that range. So it'll put the label from where you started clicking to where you drag to on the ranges. And similarly with boxed ranges, you can highlight a region, click, drag out any size box you want, and then you can put your text within that. So these will all remain on the graph and they'll stay associated with the range of the data that you set based on the axes. So if you flip it over to the pan mode, you'll be able to scroll that around and move it, and they'll automatically redraw. Before I do that, I'll just show you a few of the other options. When you right click, you can change the options of these. If you want to update the colors, you can switch the colors to whatever you like so that the overlay works well with whatever graphs you're using or whatever plot colors you're using. Similarly, your font color, you can change that if you want to be able to change it up either on the fly or the user can do it. All these settings are available, of course. And then you can also set your style to different types. So if you want your intersection lines, instead of being solid, they'll use a dashed line or a dotted line. You can control the width of those as well. So if you want to really push the widths of them so that they're more visible, you can change all these. And all these settings change live as you make edits to them. The third tab here, another simple thing you can do, you can come in and you can actually control all of these now that you've laid them down. If you want to change one to a different type, you can do that by selecting it. So this line 1, if I wanted that to be, instead of a vertical line, I can change that to be a horizontal line. When I close this out, it'll update. I can go back and edit that again, line 1, change it back to vertical. You can change the values themselves or rename them here if you want. So I can call this better name, and then that will apply when I close it. And then as well, if these, if you don't want all of these, or if you want to remove certain types, you can select them, delete them, close out, and it'll update and refresh. So that's how markers work. The other option of graph extensions is cursors, and you can use these either independently or you can use them together. And when I switch over to any other tool on the graph palette, just not the cursor one, which I've replaced with marker, all these other tools now, these update live with a real-time cursor being displayed over top. And so there's a number of options that you can set with cursors. You can control whether or not there's a timestamp along the x-axis, where it is, if it's bottom or top. You can control the actual text and the data that's displayed within the overlays. You've got access to the plot name, the value, as well as the timestamp, and so you can overlay that at the individual points if you want. And so what they do is they follow the overlay of the graph based on the x time of your mouse, and they intercept to find the value, and they color coordinate with the plot color so that they're very easy to associate the data with the plot that you're overlaying. So all of these graph extensions work quite easily, and they're very simple to implement. I'll show you the markers, which is the most complex by far. If we just look at the diagram here, there's one simple process that you drop down to allow it to be running, monitoring the graph tools and to do the redraw. And then there's a few basic events that need to be implemented. Mouse move, which is simply calling and setting the command move with the coordinates. There's a small block of code to put in for when you do a mouse down. This is so that it can handle the different button clicks with left clicks, right clicks. And then mouse up is used for when you're dragging and you mouse up a region of interest. It's using that to send these commands up to this upper process. And then the last one is basically just a redraw, and these include all of the event types that can require you to do a redraw because the scales have changed on that graph. So as long as these 4 simple sets of events are implemented, all of the graph extensions can be added to any XY graph. They'll also work with a waveform graph, and hopefully these demos and samples here make it very easy to copy that into any project that you might want to use them for. So thanks for the moment to look through this, and hope you find them useful.